Hey everyone, welcome to another conversation over drinks. I'm Coach Wolverine.
Coach Kelowna?
And today we're coming at you with the question of, should we be having this conversation?
What that means is every conversation you're having in regards to ideas, if it's a disagreement or an argument or anything like that, that expands social media, personal relations, work, everything.
Yeah.
Right? We've touched on this way back when we were sitting on your porch in minus 20, sipping some peppermint tea or whatever.
Whatever tea that we had made in our mugs.
But it's the idea that when you're going to enter into a battle of the minds or an argument or some sort of conversation that actually holds some value, or at least you feel like it does, what do you have to hear that will change your perspective or change your mind? Because if there's something and you know what it is, you're ready to have an open-minded conversation that can then progress either your mindset or opinion on the matter or someone else's.
Yeah.
Right? It is a two-way street, and both parties need to essentially know what they need to hear to change their mind. If not, the conversation is essentially a colossal waste of time, because I'm going to leave being like, I won, and they're going to leave and be like, I won, and then they're going to go tell other friends that think the exact same thing they did, and they'll be like, what about this guy? Because
essentially it just becomes an argument at that point too.
But it's an argument that they can then go and like bring their friends and like whatever. And especially on social media, right? You get one comment with 82 replies, and all 82 replies are the same comment, and you're just like, all right.
How about touching on the conversations that we have when we actually don't know what we're talking about because we just saw this one clip on Instagram or Facebook or whatever social media platform, and all of a sudden we think that we're an expert at it, so then we start spewing our opinion that isn't even actually researched. What about those conversations?
Those ones, which is like, again, like that is kind of a waste of time, but the problem is when you do that and you run into someone that does know what they're talking about and they hit you back with facts, if you're not ready to hear those facts, that's a waste of time, right? If you're gonna say and regurgitate information that you found online and you, at the time, think it's right because we're incapable of holding an opinion that we believe to be wrong.
Yeah, well, it's not possible.
Like, you just can't do it. So you believe it's right, so you say it, and then they're like, no, actually, you're wrong. If your response is, bye, or have a nice day, or you want to be mean, then why are you having that conversation? Like, what is the point in you having that conversation, right?
I'm starting to think that there are people out there that actually just like to argue for the sake of arguing.
I would argue that they are addicted to the response their body gives them from being in an argument.
Yep.
It is not that they like being in an argument, it's that they don't have anything else to put their energy towards that's beneficial, right? Like whether it's running on cortisol, right? They get their little cortisol spike because they're all pissed off, and then they get their dopamine thing because they feel like they won. But like, that's it, right? That's what we run on. They're allowing life to happen to them, and they're not making choices based on what they want. They're just creating these cyclical responses that allow them. It's like, I'm gonna wake up and go get revved up online. Like, I get pretty heated in hockey conversations online. Like, I just like look at people and it's like, oh, you're dumb. But like, everyone can hold an opinion, right? And it's fine to have like an actual discussion. But like, if you make a comment that has forethought and some knowledge in there, and it's replied with, it's like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, okay, well, like, that's fine. Like, if I don't know what I'm talking about, please explain how I don't know what I'm talking about, right?
I went through a situation actually like this. You actually talked me off the ledge, and it was when I was on TikTok, and I had... No, it's not Cobb. There's a reason why he's one of my best friends. So where I had released a piece of content, and I actually had somebody, I don't know who they are or where they're from, but they actually took my content and just stripped me apart.
Oh, this is when they did the breakdown thing.
Yeah, the breakdown of like making fun of how I said something. So like I had just gotten my tongue pierced, and so I had a lisp, and like making fun of like how I was pronouncing things, and that I didn't know what I was talking about, like just all these things. And then, so my mind was going to this place of like, oh man, like everyone is going to make fun of me now. Like my face is going to be all over the internet as this person who was just made fun of. And basically I felt like I got caught with my pants down, like is what it was.
That might be our anxiety from being bullied as kids.
It might be, yes. Yes, heavily bullied as a child. But what I realized is like that individual, all he did in the rebuttalment of his argument was just tear me apart. He didn't actually come back at it with facts of like, hey, this is why you're incorrect, or even approach it that way. It's just like, hey, you're wrong and stupid, and this is why, and then just made fun of me to make me feel stupid.
I don't know. It was a lesson that one of my teachers taught me before I moved to Alberta. So like at least prior to grade 9, and I want to say like way back, so probably like grade 5, grade 6. And it's like if you're going to attack someone, you would in a conversation, it's not personal. You attack the conversation, and that's the only way to keep it rooted in like the conversation and the idea. And that's the end goal of a conversation and knowledge sharing, as we've talked about, should be to improve the value in everyone that's involved. Does that require a positive mindset entering? Absolutely. But if my intent is, I believe this very strongly, it holds value for me, thus I believe it holds value for you, you think that's not the case, so okay, let's have a chat, right? But it's not like I'm going to lose the argument and be like, you're just like fat and dumb. It's like, like that's not the case, right? Like the case is like, hey, your argument is flawed.
I think one thing in that people seem to forget, and whether it is a complete stranger, whether it's a loved one, a spouse, a sibling, a friend, is it's not you versus the person. It's you and said person versus the issue at hand. Yeah. And that, like, so when you say attack the conversation, not the person, is like, yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Is it's what in the conversation. But as soon as you start going at the person and you're making things personal, it's like, well, you're just showing where you're coming from, and that's not really
That's just it. Like if you're willing to get personal and like mean and bullying someone because they've challenged your perspective, that says a lot more about you than it says about them.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like it just basically says like, hey, can't say it. But like you're basically like, I can't handle pushback. Like I'm essentially going to go nowhere because I know better than everyone already. And like that mentality in anything is horrible.
Horrible. It's a very limiting, scarcity, fixed mindsets of I know everything and can't learn anything.
And you want to look at that as an employer, as all this other stuff. Yeah. Like we say we have like more job opportunities than anything else. We have more people that are actually just terrible employees than ever. Like their mentality sucks, right? And still like this is what it is. But like for me, like why would you ever want to be around someone that knows better than you when they obviously don't? I know like I guess probably the last 6 months, one of the best quotes that I've heard is like, the more I know I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like, the pursuit of knowledge, the more you learn, the more you're like, man, I know nothing.
Yeah, that's true. There's another quote that actually touches very similar to that, where it's a shame that the people who are intelligent fear that they know nothing, and the people who know nothing believe that they're intelligent. And this is kind of like how I see a lot of society is starting to run.
It's everyone's an expert on their thing, and that's the problem. Like we all have a platform to now voice, whereas like you used to have to be an expert to voice an opinion, or at least the only people you were voicing this opinion to were at the neighborhood barbecue.
Yeah.
Like it's
or your bartender at the local watering hole.
Yeah, right. Or like you were at a social gathering that just so happened, right? And like no one's going home after a night at the bar and being like, should have heard this speech this guy gave me at the bar tonight. Like, there's no way. Like, no one was going up. So, like, the validation didn't exist. But, like, you can go online and find hundreds and thousands of other people. Like, the fact the flat Earth thing exists is absurd. But, like, we don't have to, like, but that's the reality of it, right? Like, we, for the most part, can agree, like, that's pretty whack. Like, that's pretty crazy. Like, why do we think that? But now you look at that, and that's on every level of everything, right? Like you've got conspiracy theories, which like we don't need to get into that because me and you fall on the same side of that. A lot of people don't, but.
Well, the problem is right now, I think not the problem. Well, let me rewind there. A problem that contributes to everything is the fact that we have access to so much information like that, right? If I want to right now, if like you and I were having a disagreement about how coffee is good for your eyesight, right? I can go and find 1,000 different reasons why coffee is amazing for you and good for your eyes. And then you can go on the same Google internet box and find 1,000 reasons as to why coffee is bad for eyesight. So basically, any single opinion that we hold or any narrative we're telling ourselves, we can find information on the Google.
It's going to be validated either way.
To validate what we think, and then we can go to it, to whomever we're talking these conversations with, and be like, oh yeah, well, Google says.
It's okay, but like, so I look at it this way, right? Like when we were like, I don't know what year it was, but they like called it the information age, like when the internet was coming. It would have been late 90s, early 2000s probably.
Okay, yeah.
Right? Because information was there and was readily accessible for the first time ever. Like I didn't have to go to the library and read an encyclopedia. Like, but now, like we're now in the age of misinformation because everything is there, like you said. But also everything is is monetized as well. So like,
yeah, are you ready to have that conversation?
So for me, like one of my things, right, when I want to validate an opinion or I want to go into things, is like, okay, we'll follow the money, right? And it's like, I don't know if I want to use this example because it's about COVID stuff, but like, if there's a small group of people that have a disagreement, but they're putting a lot on the line, livelihood, money, whatever, they're putting everything they have on the line, that holds more weight to me than a majority putting nothing, risking nothing.
Absolutely.
If you're willing to risk things for an opinion and you're an expert or professional in that field, even if your opposition is more in number, but their risk is zero, then the people that are willing to give up things to stand behind this idea, when in reality they have the same education or qualifications or whatever, they hold more weight. When we're just caught up for whatever reason, it's like this majority thing, right? Like we know full well, and we love to flip that in politics when votes are like, oh, well, they didn't get the majority vote. It's like, well, we agreed that that's not how it works. So
yeah,
it's like you can't just pick and choose your argument. That's the other thing that I really don't like. Would have been philosophy, my first philosophy class ever. The teacher said one thing. It's like, if you're going to hold an idea, it has to hold up to the most extreme example.
That's fair.
And if you can't stand behind that to the extreme example, then you need to reassess your opinion. Mm-hmm. And that was, and we would talk about that like because I took metaphysics. I don't know if you ever took a metaphysics course, but it was.
I loved physics, but it did not love me. So I very much flunked everything except for the actual hands-on.
Metaphysics is a portion of philosophy that deals with the study of reality. It's got nothing to do with actual physics.
Oh, well, there you go. That's how versed I am in it.
But so that's where you talk about like time as a construct. That's where you talk about identity. That's where you talk about.
Oh, this sounds like I love it.
Yeah, it does. That's why I had to bring it up because I was like, I'm just gonna tell them about this right now. Or like you would talk about. We skipped the time one because the teacher literally was like, hey, like this is too much. But the one about identity was super cool. Because we've talked about it in concept too. Like everyone we meet throughout our entire life has a different identity of who we are, because they met us in a snapshot of one and they created an entire identity based on that interaction.
There's a different version of us that exists in everyone's mind.
Exactly, right? So that would be the identity argument. But the argument, like for free will, right? This is where the extreme example was. Like the argument is like, do we actually have free will or not? And if you were willing to say no, then you had to be able to justify everything from. Like serial killers needed to be justified, murder needed to be justified, like all those other things that are a little more not sweet to say, but
yeah,
right? Those things all had to be justified. I actually had to write a paper on free will not existing, like us not actually having free choice.
I would argue the point that we don't have full free will, that we're not as free as what we're led to believe.
That's true. But I mean, like, if you had to pick standing on one side or the other, like, this was literally like, do you believe in choice, or
Absolutely.
Is everything predetermined?
No, I believe in choice.
That's actually the healthy thing to believe. Because it's better for us to walk through every day to believe that we have a choice. Mm-hmm. Whether that's true or not, it's healthier for us to do so. And like, when we start talking about that as a concept, versus free choice doesn't exist and now I have to justify like mass murders.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier pill to swallow. So there is a portion of our beliefs. The reason I kind of segued out there is like, if we're going to hold these ideas, a lot of people are holding these ideas and they're holding onto them so strongly because they feel safe in that idea. they feel that holding that idea is better for their life or better for their virtues or better for whatever. Like they actually see a benefit in believing that portion. So the problem is when entering a conversation, if you don't know what can change your mind and you're not willing to detach from that for a minute or anything like that, if you're not willing to be vulnerable in the conversation, because being vulnerable is how you like step out of your comfort zone, right? If you're only going to stay where you're comfortable, you're not going to learn anything. You're not going to change anyone's mind. You're not going to anything. So
I think it's also willing to be wrong and being okay with being wrong.
yeah, like being wrong doesn't mean you're not safe.
No, there's nothing wrong with being wrong. It's if we're never wrong, how
Do we get better?
Exactly. How are we supposed to learn? It's a very interesting construct of our mind of like we think we have to know everything.
Yeah.
It's our ego. It's our ego talking.
Love
is all
hate
it is.
to be wrong, right? Like you
Yeah.
love to be right, but you also like you gotta learn to love to be wrong. So
But it's like failing intentionally, right? Like if you look at different sales coaches, right? A lot of sales coaches will be like, go out and purposely fail 100 times today.
go do it. Yeah.
It's basically you start callousing up that part of your ego so you don't feel bad for failing, and then you find 100 ways to not do it when you intentionally fail, and then so when you try and do it the next time,
You're better.
you're a little bit better.
And they talk about that in sport too, right? Like they say the most dangerous team is the one that's lost before.
Oh yeah,
So-
absolutely. The
Right?
underdog.
Like the team, or not even that. Like they made it all the way to the finals and lost. Right? That is like a fire. Usually, like depending on the sport, but like usually if the team stays intact, they go on another run. Because it's like it is a driving force, right? That we don't want to feel like that. And I know what I did last time wasn't good enough, so I got to do better. If you have the right mentality. So carrying that into conversations, looping back to this, if you're going to enter a conversation, whether it's online, in person, in a relationship, in anything, and you're like steadfast on an idea, yes, by all means, prepare your argument, right? Like have the reasons why you believe this. Understand you believe it for a reason, where it came from, have some sort of forethought into it. Like don't go into it and be like, I believe this and I'm right. So, but also be willing, like, really think about it. Like, okay, like what can they say that'll change my mind?
And be okay with that.
And be okay with it. Like, you should be totally okay with leaving a conversation with your mind change if they said exactly what you said you had to hear to change your mind. Like every big argument, anything, even like you want to talk about COVID, like I've got the not popular opinion. Well, I don't know which side of where that falls now, but like it wasn't very popular at the time. But I knew exactly what I needed to hear or see to be proved otherwise.
And I didn't hear or see any of it.
Well, that's, but it's still there, right? Like there's like if you could follow the bouncing ball, you would find your way to the other side.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's I think that's the big thing, and like I said, we've touched it before, and we'll touch it again. But if you're gonna hold an idea, it should apply to all levels of it. You can't just pick and choose scenarios. And if you're gonna be willing to attack someone for that personally, you better be ready to be attacked personally back. So if you don't want to be attacked personally, stick to attacking the argument.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Don't open the door for someone else, because chances are they're probably bigger than you.
This is true.
Maybe not you.
All right. Well, I don't have any much more to add on to that.
That's
I
it,
mean,
man.
nothing that can be said on TV, anyways.
Yeah, that stuff fires me up a little bit, but I'll talk about this stuff. This is stuff I really enjoy talking about, right? So, but
All right, guys.
together we learned about metaphysics.
Absolutely. Please like, share, subscribe on whatever platform you're consuming this content on. Have a fantastic day.
Cheers.
Cheers.